Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. For the benefit of you all, last week one of the very pertinent points we mentioned was the difference between knowledge and wisdom. The fundamental difference between knowledge and wisdom. The Sanskrit word for knowledge is jnanam, and the Sanskrit word for wisdom is vairagyam, dispassion. Dispassion is vairagyam, and a person who has vairagyam is said to be a wise man, because the concept we drew from Arjuna, the verse we did, Arjuna was grieving, was overwhelmed with grief, and yet he spoke words of wisdom. It doesn't really justify someone who is wise and at the same time is overwhelmed with emotion, is grieving and suffering. So if we take a lesson from that, and if we look within, as I have said, the entire study of philosophy is meant for one purpose, which is self-transformation. There is nothing out there which will not help you to transform yourself. Everything has been laid down with a very clear purpose. In fact, if you look at life, everything is evolving, isn't it? The plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, so also must the human kingdom evolve. So as we are progressing, we are at a phase of life, or we are at the phase of technology where we are in abundance of information, isn't it? There's so much of knowledge, but the sad reality of life is that all the knowledge we have today doesn't necessarily change our lives. It hasn't changed our lives. So we very much lack that wisdom within us. So we are all well informed. We have knowledge, but we lack that wisdom. Now, I'm just reiterating what we mentioned. Now, how does one gain wisdom? In fact, we said knowledge is tuition. and wisdom is intuition. Knowledge is information you gather from external sources. In the past, there were no books or literature. The only source of knowledge was listening to a guru, an acharya. That's the reason they say, in order to learn knowledge, you must do Shravana. Shravana means listening. They never said reading, because there was no literature those days. Much later came documenting these ideas or values. But in the very olden Vedic times, it was only word of mouth. So you want to learn something, Shravana. As in English language, you say, please lend me the ears. You got to lend your ears. You want to listen, you must lend the ears. It's just not the ear, but your mind as well. If you are sitting here and if your mind is somewhere else, you're not listening anything, are you? So if your mind is not in the classroom, is it possible to pay attention to what that is said or what's transpiring here? Rather difficult, isn't it? In fact, in most meetings, that's what happens. The companies send you for these paid programs, and usually they're done in these star hotels or nice ambience where you're given all the necessary arrangements are made, and actually you're physically there, but there's a perfect license where your mind is completely gone outside the classroom. There is no reference to where your mind is. So Shravana is to listen. So when you listen to people or when you gather information, what happens? You have a lot of knowledge with you. And when you have a lot of knowledge, the first level of ignorance is taken care of. In fact, ignorance expresses in three ways, in three forms, in three levels. I'm still explaining the difference between knowledge and wisdom and how to gain wisdom. Ignorance expresses in three levels. The first level of ignorance is, you say, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know at all. I've never heard the Gita. I've never heard the Kathopanishad. I don't know what it says. There's no information. So first level of ignorance is lack of knowledge, lack of information. And how do you counter the first level of ignorance? Sir, how do you take care of the first level of ignorance? Sorry?
I do not know.
How do you take care of I do not know? You either study or you lend your ears to someone, you're taken care of. You know, you could go back and say, oh, I've heard the Gita today, I know what it says. Most of them are actually only stuck there. They're well informed. But then there's a second level of ignorance. The second level of ignorance, the second tier of ignorance is lack of understanding. I know what it is, but I don't understand its relevance to my life today. I know the theoretical aspect of it, but I lack the applicability of this knowledge. I don't understand how these values are relevant in my life today. I don't know how it can actually address my problems and my concerns which I'm faced today. I don't understand. There's a missing link between what is said and what I'm going through now. I'm not able to connect, as they call applied philosophy. They're not able to, they know the values, but they're not able to apply the knowing. So these corporate workshops are all applied philosophy. Because you are not able to do that, we give it that for you. We give the knowledge in an applied form. So you can take those values or modules and apply and get immediate results. But this knowledge is not meant for applied. It's meant for the real seekers. But you need to do that. The second level of ignorance is I don't understand. And how do you counter the second level of ignorance? No doubt, you're right when you say practice makes a man perfect. But what do you practice? Sir, I mentioned it last week for your benefit. In Vedanta, it's a saying, if you know something, you must live it. If you have not yet perfected it, means you do not know it. Isn't it fair to say? If I would take a guitar and struggle to play it, 2 minutes listening to me, you would say, man, this guy doesn't know what a guitar is. He's somehow trying to put on an act, put on a show, how to play the guitar. If you are able to play it effortlessly, means you know it. If you are struggling with it, means you have not yet perfected it, you do not know it. Isn't it? You are given the car to your son who has got a license in his hand, just fresh license on the chair. He has got a license, and you say, let me see how well this guy has taught you. And you sit next to him in the front seat with the seat buckles, and you say, let's go. The moment you start off, everything is like a roller coaster. What's that? You know, this guy is far from perfect. A long way to go for him to leave him to the. It's not a main road, it's a battleground out there. It's a battlefield out there, it's not a main road. It's too early to leave you to the battleground, because you will do what a battlefield should do. You will destroy someone, kill someone out there. It is dangerous. You can't let him out there. In a battlefield, you go and destroy someone, understandable. You can't go onto the road and then start. If you know it, even at some times now I have difficulty with the clutch. Over the years, having driven an automatic overseas, come back here again to drive a manual, especially when you're on a hillside, you're going up. None of it is taught to you. The importance of a handbrake is never taught to you, which is essential when you have parked the car on a hill. So when you are taking off, you must slowly release the handbrake, and then accelerator, and then the clutch, and the precision and the perfection is everything. It's not raise. If it's too low, it will stop. And then you will hear the music from behind. Everybody is honking from behind, as if the world is going to come to an end. Arey, wait man, just a minute, they don't have patience. So much of, you would know, you have not perfected it. Now the same goes to life as well, isn't it, sir? Now how many of us in this classroom can claim to have perfected the very know-how of life and living? And I bow down to your experience, but still, can we claim to have perfected the very art of life and living? And to go with your statements, can we perfect it by trying to live it? Can I learn guitar by trying to perfect it? Or should I learn the know-how and then practice it? I must learn the know-how, isn't it? And then try to put it to practice. So living also must be perfected through the process of knowing. Now, as I've said, we know a lot of this knowledge, but we are not able to live it perfectly. Why? Because the second level of ignorance is very much there. The second level of ignorance is lack of understanding. And how do you address the lack of understanding? The most important spiritual exercise which is not being practiced today. That is the reason there is a gap between knowledge and wisdom. There is a gap between what you speak and what you live. And the gap is created because the second level of ignorance is still there. I know it, but I don't understand its relevance to my life, and that is addressed through the spiritual exercise known as manana. First is Shravana. Shravana a lot of us do. Manana is reflection. It's a conscious repetition, a conscious reiteration, a conscious reminder. It's a conscious questioning of these ideas. What is this knowledge? What are they saying? If you can break it down, manana is the process of breaking down the knowledge to a digestible form. Like when you put a mouthful of food while you're eating, do you all know how many number of times you must actually chew before you swallow the food? In fact, if you have chewed that many times, the food automatically slips through the esophagus. You know how many times you must chew the food before you swallow? 32 should be good, sir. If still something is left, carry on. Nothing is there, therefore it's difficult. 7 times, 8 times I know I can feel it. But if you are conscious of it, you take a bite full of a pizza or a burger or chapati, something you eat, you got to actually chew it 32 times. This is not philosophy, this is medical science saying it. I didn't give the answer, you have given me the answer. It's there in the medical journals. Doctors say that. And if you do so, what happens thereafter? Digestion is an effortless exercise. The food becomes a part of you. It is absorbed into your system effortlessly. It gives you energy and vitality. The same thing, imagine you gulp it down. In the 8th bite, sometimes I see people swallowing actually. Why are you rushing? Is there anywhere to rush? Why can't you just sit and enjoy that food? In fact, if you allow the food to linger in the mouth, you actually get to taste all that is gone into the preparation, isn't it? The masala or the juices the vegetables have extracted, and the combination of all that and all the love and the bhavana with the lady in the house has done to serve you, it all comes to the forefront. You are able to relish it, isn't it? But if you don't do that, you gulp it in, you're putting in extra effort on your stomach, and the digestive system is struggling to burn, and before that ends, snack time comes. By the time snack time finishes, lunch time comes. Lunch time finish, tea time comes. And then unofficial interval. I had an experience in Malaysia. Went for a government meeting with the government officials, and I was shocked. It was 11 o'clock meeting. Sir, I can't forget that. I'm very sorry. Record law is going on. But nothing against them. But it's just a protocol. 11 o'clock meeting. There were 7 of us. A couple of them from the organization, 4 or 5 from the department. There was a round table conference arranged. It was a proper buffet. For a moment I thought, is it a lunch meeting? I looked at my watch. It is just 10:45. 11 o'clock meeting, and we are there, and all that one by one, everything arrived, along with the tea and coffee. I for a moment, and then everybody started eating. I said, please, and we were the guests, so they offered to us, please take. And we followed this, at least I've been following this over the years. Immediately after the meal, you can check with the family. He simply keeps saying many things. There's no truth to it. If the doubt comes, you can check with the family. Rajgopal sir, check panninga sir. Immediately after my meal, the first thing I do is I brush my teeth. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And as much as possible, it is to the T, 100%, I do not eat in between meals. So if I had lunch at 1 o'clock, my next meal is at 7:30 or 7:45. There's nothing in between. So I'm used to that, and our friends were going all out. They're not giving enough time to digest. Now why I'm drawing a comparison is that similar comparison is to the knowledge you are receiving. The knowledge you are receiving is equivalent to dumping in food into a system without any proportion to your capacity. Do I need to eat? In fact, when you choose to fast, and people who do fasting, most of you would be aware, the first, as soon as your meal time comes, let's say you choose to skip your dinner tonight. By the time, let's say you're used to eating at 7:30, by the time it is 6:45, 7:15, you feel the pangs of hunger because you're used to eating. But you have decided, I would not eat my dinner tonight. If you're able to sail through that half an hour or 45 minutes till 8 o'clock, if you're able to control, believe me, you will not feel hunger anymore thereafter. You're able to perfectly control it. It's just that initial impulsiveness. So if you keep hogging, you keep dumping in food, is equivalent to gaining knowledge from external sources without any measure. How much knowledge do you receive every day? Are you even conscious of it? Maybe today's presentation will highlight that aspect of ignorance, how we go about just dumping in with so much of knowledge without any proportion to your intellectual capacity. Like the physical body has a capacity to receive food, isn't it? To take. Similarly, your intellect has a capacity to receive knowledge. How much knowledge are you giving? What knowledge are you giving? I get, every time I wonder, the street shops, people keep eating food. I just wonder, how are the systems able to digest all that? You and I wouldn't dare to go down to the roadside shop and eat. What kind of hygiene they are following? What standards are they following? Is the food fresh to eat? And I see families eating, not just adults, the children, everybody are exposed to it. What kind of food are you throwing in? So what kind of knowledge are you throwing into your system? Is it all is it all verified? Whose views are you listening? What knowledge are you throwing in? First mistake. Second mistake is you're not chewing the food. You're not processing the knowledge which you have received. So what happens? There is too much knowledge, less or hardly any processing. There is not able to digest it, so that there is lot of knowledge and there is no wisdom. Actually, I have cracked the secret today. Reason why there is knowledge and there is no wisdom in the world today. Are you all able to relate to it? Are you able to connect with what I am saying? In fact, knowledge is information. Like what I am giving you is information, which you would say, I know what the Gita is, or I know what he is saying. That is knowledge. Like let's say if I have explained about dispassion or vairagyam, you know what it means. You agree to it. But if I were to ask you, what is your level of dispassion? That is subjective, isn't it? That is the difference. So we all have a lot of knowledge, but it is not processed. In fact, to be very realistic, what we are told is you must receive 10% knowledge, 90% reflection. This should be the proportion for your spiritual transformation. That's the reason you get 1.5 hours of lecture a week. Otherwise, if I had requested, they would have offered the place. Maybe you have twice a week classes, thrice a week classes. Yes, you are doing good service. Please go ahead. The best we can provide is a platform where we can serve people. Why not? But the question is, are you doing enough to what is given? Now what's happening is, it is 90% knowledge, hardly any reflection. And when you have enough wisdom within you, what is the sign? When you have that wisdom, how does it reflect? How would you? How you apply? So when you have that wisdom, you start expressing it. And how does, one of the first evident signs of expression is, you will be reveling in peace and bliss. This is a sign you will not miss. If you are truly transformed, if you are truly blissful, and if you are truly wise, you will radiate that peace and bliss and that happiness. Not just bursts of excitement. I'm not talking of getting excited. There's a marriage in the occasion, your only child is getting married. There's an euphoria in the family, isn't it? You're going all out to celebrate the occasion. There is so much to be celebrated. You're invited, your family and friends. It's a gathering for the family. It's an occasion. You're very happy. I'm not talking of, that is not happiness. That is actually excitement, euphoria. I'm talking about that peace, that happiness, that balance. And actually you radiate that peace and balance. In fact, yoga or spirituality is a technology, is a technique, is actually a know-how. How you actually tap that inner potential, how you draw that, it triggers that inner stimulus, and it actually taps those hidden dimensions in you. It is there right within us, but it has to be triggered, it has to be stimulated, it has to be tapped. And yoga and spirituality is a methodology which does that. And one who has hit the reservoir of happiness within him, such a person, he is happy, independent of the world around him. Independent. Take this point for your consideration. One of the most beautiful concepts. A spiritual, in fact, spiritual evolution, or that inner development of a person, is inversely proportional to the reliance or dependence on the world. I wish I had the board. By the time I come back, if we can make it available, because we want to make it as a classroom to teach you all. It helps. I would like to provide actually a chart. So the spiritual development and reliance on the world is inversely proportional. Means a person is 80% developed, sir. What would be his dependence on the world? Sudhakar Garu, 80% developed, sir. What will be his dependence? 20%. Kada? If a person is 30% developed, his dependence rises to 70%. Now let's follow little figures and facts here. A person is 80% developed. Okay, let's start with 30% developed. A person is 30% developed, his need would be 70%. He needs the 70% of the world to make him happy, to feel comfortable. And what that 70% includes, just arbitrary I'm saying. He must have an established job. He must have a 5-figure, 6-figure salary. He must have enough savings. He should have everything well with the family. Lovely lady, his wife, his children are doing well, education is good, there are social activities which are going well, his social life is good, he is able to travel abroad